Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Aperitivo with Uniworld. We are kicking off our week in Europe. We're going to begin with France, Portugal, and Italy today. My name is Tiffany. I work for Uniworld down here in Melbourne. I also have Gabby on the call behind the scenes. She's going to be answering any questions you guys have. So if you have something that pops up, feel free to pop it in the Q&A, and Gabby will answer that, or hopefully by the end of the session, I will have covered a lot of your questions as well. These are three destinations, I think, that they're three of my favorite destinations for one, which hopefully we'll get into as we progress. But I think there's a really lovely theme tying them together. Not only are they full of art and history and culture, like a lot of our European itineraries, but they also have really strong connections in food and wine, as we will see. And they are two of my favorite things that I like to experience when I travel. So I think there's a nice little theme connecting all of our destinations today. We're going to begin in France. Now, we have three itineraries in France. We are up in the north on the Seine from Paris to Normandy. We also sail the Rhone down in the south of France from Arles to Lyon, and we are in Bordeaux as well. So three lovely itineraries to choose from. And just a little statistic for you as well. From our Australian and our Kiwi passengers, the three itineraries in France are our number one itineraries. So the Aussies and Kiwis definitely love this part of the world, and I can definitely see why. We are going to begin up north in Paris and Normandy. So we have a lovely 8-day itinerary. It's a round trip itinerary. So it begins in Paris, sails up through the Normandy countryside, and then we'll return to Paris. Now, if I can describe this trip in 2 words, it would be art and history. So from an art perspective, we visit places like Monet's garden. And then, of course, on the history side of things, we've got the Normandy beaches. We've got Rouen, which is a wonderful medieval town. And we see it all from our lovely floating boutique hotel, which is the SS Joie de Vivre. So for those of you who may be a little bit newer to Uniworld, what we do quite differently is that every single one of our ships is completely different, and it is designed and inspired based on the destination that it is sailing in. So what we want our guests to feel is really immersed in the destination when they're on the land through all of our shore excursions, but we also want them to feel like they're still in that place when they come back on board. So it really gives them a sense of place. And I think that the Joie de Vivre really nails this. We actually have a saying about this ship, and it's that the ship may leave Paris, but Paris never leaves the ship. I think the restaurant on board just absolutely feels like you are eating dinner every night in the Moulin Rouge. One of my favorite spaces is actually the pool and spa. So what happens is that by day it's a pool, and then at night the floor actually comes up and it turns into a bar and sort of a supper club. So I think it's a really innovative use of space. Now we're going to explore some of these itineraries. I'm not going to go through every single destination that we cover on each trip, because we would be here forever. I would probably bore you to tears, and I think it's much better if you experience it for yourself rather than hearing me talk about it. So what I've done is just picked out a few of my favorite places and I think the key excursions that we offer, which really gives you a sense of what traveling with Uniworld is like. So we're going to begin in Giverny, which of course is famous for Monet's garden. It is really a celebration of natural beauty, and it's really a chance to explore, immerse yourselves in the landscapes that inspired all the Impressionists, notably Monet, of course. I think it ties in with what we do at Uniworld really, really well, because not only are we on the shore in museums and in beautiful places like Giverny, experiencing the original artworks of artists like Picasso and Matisse and Monet, but we also have that experience when we come back on board. So all of our ships actually have a collection of original artworks on them, so you can see the works of these masters when you're on the ships as well. So it's a beautiful, seamless tie-in to what we're doing while we're on shore. A little fun way for you to get to Monet's garden, if you're feeling adventurous, is that you can actually take the bikes from on board the ship and cycle to the garden. Or like me, if you're a little bit more lazy, you can take the coach and take it easy. So the next destination I want to profile is Rouen. As I mentioned before, it's a beautiful medieval city. It was actually the medieval capital of Normandy. So it's got a beautiful historic feel to it. And of course, it's had a whole host of different historical figures who lived and died there. So Richard the Lionheart, Joan of Arc, Claude Monet himself. So it's got a very kind of storied history. But what I wanted to highlight here is when we have the opportunity to give our guests a really VIP private experience, we love to do that. So what we do here at the Rouen Cathedral is we take all of our Uniworld guests in by night. It's just opened for us, and we have a private choir performance. It's really ethereal, really otherworldly, and something very, very special that we love to offer our guests. It would be remiss of me not to mention the Normandy beaches on this itinerary. I think for me, when I travel, I love visiting places which really stir up an emotional connection, and the Normandy beaches really, really does that. So if you've got an interest in World War II history, this will be a very, very special excursion for you. We actually offer 3 different versions of this excursion. We offer our guests the opportunity to visit either the American sites, the Canadian sites, or the British and the Commonwealth sites. So whatever personal sort of history you have or your family has, you'll be able to tailor your experience to something that will speak to you. After we do our visit to the Normandy beaches, we also have an opportunity to partake in a private memorial ceremony as well. So it's quite a special and moving day. On our way back to Paris, of course, we visit the Chateau de Versailles. This is one of the most elegant palaces in the world. A lot of you may have been here before. It's over 2,000 rooms in the palace and acres of these beautiful landscape gardens. And of course, it was the official residence of the monarchs from 1682 for about 100 years up until the French Revolution. What we do here when you're with Uniworld is we actually have the opportunity to go into the King's private apartments. And this is an area that's not usually open if you're going there on your own. So we have a guided tour in there without the crowds and under the expertise of a guide. I'm told that the King's apartments look pretty much the same as they did when Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette fled in 1789. That's what the guide said anyway. I wasn't there to verify it, but that's another example of a really special VIP experience that we give our guests on this itinerary. So we're going to travel south now and just take a quick look at Burgundy and Provence. So this is another 8-day itinerary running from Arles to Lyon, or you can do it in the opposite direction. You can do Lyon to Arles. I think both versions are beautiful. And this is actually one of my favorite Uniworld itineraries. I think it's got the perfect blend of you've got the wine and food of the Rhone Valley. You've got provincial French towns and villages that you're visiting. There's the French Riviera and coast when you get to Arles. What more could you want? And we get to do it all from a floating boutique hotel, which brings all of those really vibrant flavors and style of the south of France on board. And that is the SS Catherine. She is one of our more opulent ships, and every single thing on this ship is designed to wow you, everything that you look at. So you can see the foyer there. There's a beautiful custom Murano glass chandelier. There's a life-size glass horse in the foyer as well. We've got a lot of beautiful mosaics on this ship. So you can see the pool there. Some of the suites have these wonderful hand-laid mosaics and just lots of colors and textures that are really rich and vibrant all on board. I want to profile one of the towns that we visit along the way, which is the town of Viviers. It's a French provincial town. Why I want to profile this is it's a really good example of what we call our village days at Uniworld. So these are days when we're visiting places that are perhaps a little bit more off the beaten track. I think that's one of the brilliant things about traveling by river is that you get to see a lot of places that maybe you wouldn't necessarily see if you were just ticking off those big bucket list cities. So we see this gorgeous little town called Viviers. Something else that happens when you're traveling along the river is that in each town that you visit, you're greeted by a local guide. So you get the expertise of somebody who lives there or knows the region really, really well. And our case in Vivier, one of our local guides is called Frances. Now, her family has lived in the town for hundreds of years. So we get to have a nice little behind the scenes tour of all of the nooks and crannies and Frances's favorite spots in the town. But then something really special happens, and that is that she takes small groups of our guests into her family home. They've had it in the family for over 200 years. They hid Jews there during the war, so there's a lot of history in this building. But she takes us into her backyard for wine and cheese, and we get stories of her family's experience in the town of Vivier from a first person perspective. So I think that's such a wonderful experience to have, and something that you definitely would not be able to do if you were trying to do this by yourself. Of course, the Rhone Valley is famous for wine, so there is lots of opportunities here to do wine tasting. There will be lots of vineyards to see, but something a little bit different that we do is in Hermitage, we actually have the opportunity to hike in the vineyards. Now, if anyone's been to Hermitage before, there's some of the steepest terraced vineyards in the region. They're quite beautiful, and when you're up high, you get these beautiful views over the whole Rhone Valley. But we get to go hiking through the vineyards. And of course, once you have spent a lot of energy hiking, there will be some wine tasting at the end of it. And lastly, on this itinerary, I want to highlight Lyon. So for me personally, food and wine plays a very large role in a lot of my favorite memories and experiences when I'm traveling, and Lyon is definitely for the foodies. It's often hailed as the gastronomic capital of France. It's famous for cheeses, pastries, terrines. It's got such a rich culinary scene, and believe me, you will eat your weight in cheese and pastry while you're here. Such a fun city to explore. And as I said, you can either start your journey here or you can end it here. And I think either way is absolutely wonderful. So heading over now, this is our last itinerary in France. We have one in Bordeaux. Again, 8 days. They're all 8 days. It's a round trip, Bordeaux to Bordeaux. Now, this is an itinerary for the wine connoisseurs. So Bordeaux is both a city and it's a renowned wine producing region. It actually sits on the confluence of 3 different rivers, which it forms what is the largest wine growing area in France. It's over 110,000 hectares of vineyards. So it's quite a unique river cruise experience. Just to put that in perspective, that's an area under vine that is larger than the city of Los Angeles, or it's about 3 times the size of Singapore. That is a lot of vineyards. It's huge. Our home while we are in Bordeaux is the SS Bon Voyage. I think she absolutely immerses you in the Mediterranean. She's the only ship in our French fleet to have an outdoor pool. So there's actually a beautiful infinity pool on the sun deck for you to take advantage of that Mediterranean weather and perhaps go for a dip. And just all the colors and vibrancy on board. I think it definitely makes you feel like you're in the south of France. Of course, here again, we are going to be visiting a lot of wineries. So I want to highlight first the region of Medoc. So it's one of the most famous kind of micro regions around Bordeaux. Lots and lots of chateaus in this region as well, with lots of different architectural styles. So even if you're not so into your wine, there's still a lot to keep you entertained while you're in Medoc. A little fun fact about Medoc. In the 1800s, when the French classification system came in for wines, it was actually Napoleon that introduced the French classification system because he wanted everyone to know what the best wines were in France. So out of the 61 wines that were produced in the Medoc region at the time, 60 of them were granted Grand Cru status, which is the highest classification level in the French system. So that's just a little fun fact for you. And another fun fact for any wine connoisseurs out there, Medoc is also home to a lot of the best villages in Bordeaux. So you're thinking Margaux, Saint-Julien, Saint-Estèphe. So it's definitely top tier. We do a private tour through Medoc, so you can do a lot of private tastings and private chateau tours. Or if you don't want to go on the coach, you can actually do a cycling tour through the vineyards as well, if you're feeling a little bit more active. What could possibly go wrong after a day of wine tasting, hopping on a bike and cycling through the vineyards? Medoc as well is also famous for oysters. So while we're there, we will have an opportunity to taste some of those oysters. Next, I just want to highlight Saint-Emilion. So Saint-Emilion is a hilltop town. Again, it's surrounded by vineyards, so it's a wine region as well. It was actually, the Romans were the first people to plant grapes in this region. And because of its history, it was the first vineyard region that was granted UNESCO heritage site. So it's got a lot of history, and the town itself is beautiful. It's the ideal place to linger and wander around through the cobblestone streets. Of course, there'll be lots of wine tasting opportunities again. But one of the most extraordinary things that you will see in Saint-Emilion is actually the 12th century church that is carved into a cliff. So the only thing that you can see from above ground is the tower, and the rest of the church is subterranean. You just have to see it for yourself. It is amazing. Something else that I wanted to show you is when we're back in Bordeaux, we actually have an excursion to it's an old submarine base. So it was originally built during the German occupation in France, and it has now been converted by local artists that wanted to sort of reclaim the site and make something beautiful and cultural. So they do these light installations there. Sometimes, so you can see here, there's a Van Gogh exhibition. My friend Jen was there last year, so she had an exhibition on Egypt. So there's always something different happening, but it's these beautiful light installations inside this old submarine base, which is just stunning. So that's when we're back in Bordeaux. Now, just to round out France, if 8 days isn't long enough for you on any of these itineraries, you can actually combine them as well. So you can do 2-week or 3-week itineraries and combine 2 of them together, or do all 3 if you're up for a big long 22-day expedition through France. And when you combine the itineraries with us, we also include the first class rails for you to get from city to city as well. And then something, again, for the wine connoisseurs, it's another little combination that combines Bordeaux with our next destination, which is the Douro in Portugal. So it's 2 of Europe's most spectacular viticultural regions in one trip. It's, I think, the ultimate wine lovers trip through France and Portugal if you've got a spare 18 days to travel all the way from Bordeaux to Lisbon. So segueing now into Portugal, this is another place that is very special to me. My family is Portuguese, so I've spent a lot of time in Portugal. I try and go back and visit them every year. I love this part of the world. And if you haven't been, definitely go. They're some of the warmest people. They're so hospitable. The culture, the food, the wine, everything is really, really wonderful. So if you haven't been to Portugal, definitely go. And I think, of course, there's no better way to go to Portugal than with Uniworld. We have a wonderful 11-day itinerary that encompasses a cruise up the Douro River. So it's a 7-night cruise from Porto all the way up to the Spanish border, and then back to Porto, through some of the most magnificent scenery that you will ever see in your life. And then we follow that with 3 nights in Lisbon. So this is an itinerary that's full of wine and food and history. It's wonderful. And this is our home in Portugal. This is the SS São Gabriel. She's one of our smaller ships. She only holds 98 passengers. As a comparison, most of our ships in France are about 120 to 130 passengers. So the São Gabriel is quite intimate, and she is so colorful. She just brings all the colors and the tiles and that vibrancy of Portugal on board. Now, something I just want to highlight for Portugal and for the Douro specifically is that this is quite a slow paced and scenic itinerary. So I think if there's one place where you're going to upgrade yourself to a suite, this is the place to do it. Not only will you get the extra space, but when you upgrade to a suite with us, it also comes with your own butler. So you can have your butler deliver breakfast to you in bed while you watch the world go by and take advantage of the scenery and get yourself ready for the day. We do a lot of sailing during the day. The Douro River is quite narrow, so we don't do a whole lot of sailing overnight. So it's leisurely, it's calm. There's lots of sites for you to take in from the ship. So I think if there's one itinerary and one ship that you're going to get value for money on, spending that little bit extra and going for a suite, this is definitely the one to do it. So we begin in Porto. This is Porto's second largest city after Lisbon. So Porto, of course, gave its name to the nation's most famous export after Ronaldo. It gave its name to port wine, and there will be lots of opportunities to taste port wine on the itinerary. But it also gave its name to the nation of Portugal itself. So it's a wonderful city to explore on your own. We're docked right in the heart of town, so you can get off the ship and go and explore Porto at your leisure before we set sail for the idyllic Douro River Valley. So the Douro River Valley is UNESCO Heritage listed. It's still, it's calm, it's got these steep terraced vineyards. It's probably one of the most picturesque rivers in all of Europe. Something that you will notice while you're sailing the Douro is that there are no roads along the riverbanks. So for you to get the full experience and see those dramatic steep vineyards from the river, there's really no other way to get there than by the river itself. This is, again, a opportunity to do a lot of wine tasting, and there are a lot of local wineries that we visit. They are called quintas. We get the opportunity to talk to the winemakers, have private tastings, behind the scenes tours, so we see how the wines are made. We get to do hikes again through the vineyards. Something I just want to highlight, and this is a little tip from me to you, is that you'll notice these photos were taken in autumn. You can see by the colors. I think autumn is such a brilliant time to travel this part of the world. Not only is it cooler, which is very important for me being from Melbourne. If you like the heat, you can go in July and August, but if you don't do well in the heat like the Victorians, you can definitely go a bit later. So I think October or November is a brilliant time to go. The harvest is finished, so you get all of these wonderful, like, changing colors in the vineyard as the leaves are falling off. It's quieter, it's cooler, it's my ideal time to go. We run this itinerary from March all the way through to November, so you can go whenever you'd like. But I think October, November is really the sweet spot for me. Now, something else we do at Uniworld, and we've already seen a couple of examples, but we have what we call our Nights Out program. So the cathedral in Rouen, the submarine base in Bordeaux, they were both examples of when we get our guests off the ship at night and into the cities that they're visiting. And what we do when we're on the Douro is we have a night out at a local quinta, and we have a private dinner in the barrel room. So it's a wonderful home-cooked meal in this barrel room in a local winery on the Douro, a wonderful experience, and just something a little bit different. Not that the food on the ship is not good, because it's fantastic, but it just gives you a different environment. Heading over now to the Spanish border. Now, the ship only goes so far as the border, and that's because of the lock system. But we do have an excursion into Spain itself, and we get to visit Salamanca. So Salamanca is famous for its sand-colored buildings. It's actually nicknamed the Golden City, and we get to spend a whole day here. So if you like architecture, this is a great city to visit. There's lots of different architectural styles. It's very Baroque. But then the university, it's famous for its university, and the university was founded in 1218. So it's got a lot of different periods of history covered. It's a great place to walk the streets and look at all the different buildings. And because we get a full day here as well, we have time to browse through the shops. You can do shopping, go to the market. And of course, you need to try some local tapas as well while you're here. After the cruise, we head down to Lisbon and we spend 3 nights in Lisbon, which I think is fantastic because it's one of my favorite cities in the world. It's a great place to stroll around. There's so much happening on every single street. There's sounds and colors and tiles, and out of all the restaurants and the bars, you get the local fado music pouring out onto the street. If you ever have the opportunity to travel with my father, he will also treat you to a private fado concert after a few glasses of wine. He's not a singer, but after a few glasses of wine, he thinks he is. Lisbon's also famous for its hills, so be ready to do a lot of walking, or you can take one of the famous trams in Lisbon. But if you do walk, I highly recommend it because you'll need it to work off all of the treats that you will eat. This is my highlight every single time I go to Portugal. It's the Portuguese tarts or the pastéis de nata. I eat my body weight in these things every single time I go. They are delicious. Another opportunity that we have while we are in Lisbon is to do an excursion out to Sintra. Now, Sintra is a UNESCO Heritage listed hilltop town. It's like a little medieval fairy tale hilltop town. Probably what a lot of you will know it for is the Pina Palace, which is this brightly coloured palace that sits on top of the hill, some of the most breathtaking views in the country. It's a wonderful place to visit, and I highly, highly recommend, if you've got the opportunity to do it on a tour like we do with Uniworld, definitely take it, because I have also done it by myself and I spent over an hour trying to park my car. As I said, it's a medieval hilltop town. It's not designed for cars. It gets a lot of visitors, and parking is very, very limited. So if you've got the opportunity to take a bus with a local guide and get dropped off at the gates of the palace, bypass the queues and walk straight in, definitely, definitely do it. So we're going to head over now to Italy to finish off our little trio of European destinations today. Now, Italy's another place that I hold very dear in my heart. I studied in Italy when I was at university, so it's another place I've spent a lot of time and I love going back to every chance I get. And we have a really, really unique program in Italy, and it's in the Venetian Lagoon. So it's an 8-day cruise around the Venetian Lagoon. I know what a lot of you are probably thinking, and it's 7 nights in Venice is probably about 4 nights too many, and I would tend to agree with you if we were staying in Venice the whole time, but we're not. We are traveling all around the lagoon. We're traveling down as far as Chioggia. We've got a dock in Burano, so it's a really sort of in-depth exploration of the Veneto region. And the other thing that's really special about this is that we are the only cruise ship that is able to dock inside the Venetian Lagoon. So we're really the only ones doing this program, and it's such a great way to see the region. And I think it's probably the best value 5-star hotel in Venice. This is the SS La Venezia. So she is our home in Venice. Some of the best views, I think, of any Venetian hotel. All of those beautiful, rich, textured fabrics. There's Murano glass touches everywhere, Venetian masks, and she's all inclusive. So any Uniworld cruise is all inclusive. So it includes all your food, your drinks, all of your shore excursions. So in terms of value, I challenge you to find another 5-star hotel in Venice, which is as good as the SS La Venezia. Now, I have been to Venice a number of times, and I just want to show you an example of why doing Venice with Uniworld is the best way to experience the city. So what I'm about to show you is an example of what a Uniworld excursion is not like. These are some images that I just pulled off Google. So maybe you've been to Venice before, maybe you've been to the Doge's Palace or St. Mark's before. If not those specific monuments, I'm sure you've been somewhere in Europe where there are a million tourists and you can't see the artwork or the site that you're trying to see. On this itinerary, we actually have the opportunity to go into the Doge's Palace before it's open to the public. So it's opened in the morning just for Uniworld guests, and this is what we are treated to. Each and every room in the palace, we can wander around and explore in complete privacy. We've got the place to ourselves. When we're finished inside, you get to go back out into the square and you see the hordes of tourists queuing up to go inside. And let me tell you, at this point, you do feel pretty smug. We're docked right in the heart of Venice. So when we're in Venice, we're docked in San Basilio. It's about, a 10-15 minute walk from most of the major attractions. So you've got the rest of the day at your leisure. You can explore the city. And what we do that same night is we come back to St. Mark's Square. You see all of the tourists again coming out of these monuments. And we get to go into St. Mark's Basilica for another private ceremony. So we go in with an art historian, again, just Uniworld guests. And the art historian does a beautiful lighting ceremony of all the domes. You get a historian's perspective on all of those beautiful golden mosaics inside St. Mark's Basilica. So it's a really wonderful experience and something, I've been to the Doge's Palace and St. Mark's a number of times, and this is 100% worth going back just for this experience. It's something we love doing at Uniworld when we can do these extra special VIP excursions. We just love treating our guests to this. Another one of my highlights on this itinerary is the town of Vicenza. So this is actually a town most famous for the site that you can see here, which is the Teatro Olimpico. It's the oldest Renaissance theatre that's still in existence. It was built in the 16th century, and it still operates as a theatre today. So it's an indoor theatre. It seats about 400 people. And while we're there, we're actually treated to a light and music show. So it actually really brings history to life. You can imagine them doing similar things for the last 400 years. It's quite amazing. And then finally, in Burano, Burano's famous for those beautiful coloured buildings, the lace-making capital of the region. We have a private dock in Burano. So what happens is that during the day, all of the day trippers come out from Venice. It gets quite busy, especially in the summertime. But because we're there overnight, we have the opportunity to explore the town after all the tourists have gone back to the mainland for the night. So you pretty much get the town to yourselves, which is quite spectacular and quite unique. And then I just wanted to show this because back on board, you never ever have to be afraid that you're going to be missing out on the local cuisine while you're traveling with Uniworld. So this is an example of a pizza night in Venice. So we do this on the top deck. We get to have homemade pizza and watch the sunset over the Venetian Lagoon. Again, I think one of the best views that you could possibly ask for in Venice. And then again, another one of my favorite activities to do on the sun deck with those views is drink an Aperol Spritz. So we also have a variation of this itinerary, which is new for this year, for 2026, and it includes Slovenia as well. So we actually spend 3 nights in Ljubljana before we head over and do the 7-night cruise. We get to explore Lake Bled and the Pistonia Caves before heading over to Venice. So that's a really exciting something different for this year. And something else new that is coming in 2027, which we have just announced and we're very excited about, is our new cruise and tour journeys. So these are longer, more immersive journeys that combine the best of river cruising with really intimate, small group luxury touring. So we take you to the places that the river can't take you. And we've got 3 wonderful tours that actually encompass the destinations that we've been speaking about today. So we've got something that begins in Britain, that begins in Edinburgh, all the way through to London before heading over on the Eurostar to join our Paris and Normandy cruise. We've got one that explores Italy before joining our cruise in Venice. And then, of course, something that does Spain and Portugal before we do our Douro River cruise. So you know already what you can expect on a Uniworld cruise. And we bring that same level of service and luxury to the land portion of these itineraries as well. So they're small groups, really intimate. It's a maximum of 24 people. Some of the most magnificent stays at some of the best hotels in the world. They're slow-paced itineraries, so you're thinking multi-night stays that really allows you to immerse yourself in the region that you're in. Fine dining at Michelin star restaurants. You have a tour concierge that travels with you, and they're able to guide and personalize your experience. And you'll get that same VIP curated experiences that you know and love with Uniworld. We're bringing those to the land portion of those itineraries as well. So they're coming in 2027. They're available to book now. But we're very excited about those, and we're very excited to be able to explore some places that we haven't been able to go to on the rivers. So I hope you are enjoying our Aperitivo series. We've had 4 sessions already, which are available to watch on demand. So over the last few weeks, we've been delving into exotic itineraries, and this week is all about Europe. So we would love for you to join us again on Thursday. We'll be doing Central Europe along the Rhine and the Danube rivers. We're going to send you an email after this, so we will give you all of the information to register for Thursday's session, plus all the links to watch the previous sessions if you missed them. So from all of us at Uniworld, thank you so much for joining us. These are some wonderful itineraries in just beautiful, beautiful parts of the world. We would love you to join us on board, and hopefully we will see you on Thursday for the next Aperitivo. Thank you.